want to say, hey guys, it's Klaus. Welcome back to another episode. Does it help if I speak during the intros? I can do a little intro commentary. You don't have to just watch the intro and wait for the video to actually start. I can start speaking immediately while the intro is rolling. Roll them! We can roll them together and have fun together watching the intro. Why not? But the intro is over, and now we must get into the game. That gameplay is what you came for. Wasn't that easy? Wasn't that fun? Let's watch it. Who do we got here? ALB7843 from the Shack clan. Shout out to you guys! I'm just going to call you Albie because I like Albie. Albie's a nice name. Anyone who has a kid named Albie or is called Albie, shout out to you because you've endured your whole life with that name and you must be a very strong person. But let's watch the Badger here, that joke of a tank, the troll tank, the horrible joke of a tank that was introduced to great fanfare by Wargaming. It's the Tier 10 in the British Assault TD line. You have to play 9 tiers of slow, heavily armored, non-turreted, useless tanks to get the Death Star, which had a huge gun that could do a ton of damage. But that did not have a place in that line because it didn't fit, because most of the other tanks didn't have like the huge guns. They had low alpha guns, and then all of a sudden to have a tank with a big that could do a lot of damage just did not sit well, mainly with the Eastern Bloc community, because that doesn't belong in the game. There is no other line that all of a sudden some tier of tank shows up with a big gun, a heavy, slow tank shows up with a big gun amongst other tanks that don't, like the KV-2, for instance, which all of a sudden at tier 6 shows up with a gun that can do 15 times more alpha than other tanks. That kind of thing is not allowed in other tech trees. KV-2 fits amongst the tanks that do 180, 150, 120 alpha. 950 is a fit. And its slowness is what balances it. Now, the gerbil here, or whatever, the Badger, I call it the gerbil because it's so pathetic. This is the ultimate troll. Through great fanfare and advertising, Wargaming announces they're going to remove the Death Star, the beloved Death Star that has the gun that can do a lot of damage. But don't be despaired. Do not despair, because you will get a gerbil instead that has fantastic, it's overpowered, it has fantastic front armor and traverse. It's just going to be, you should grind those 9 tiers of slow British assault tanks so that you can get this, because it's going to be the tier 10 TD of choice, the non-turreted TD of choice. Impenetrable from the front. I've played it. I get penned from every angle, no matter what. It will have an amazing high DPM gun, and people talked about this thing like it could break the game. Many of you spent days, weeks, if not months, grinding the British assault line so that you could get this, get to the Badger and have it. Huge fanfare from the British YouTubers explaining how this tank would dominate the battlefield. But the joke was that a few weeks after this was introduced, and some players spent all that time playing those British tanks to finally get the Badger. The Object 268 version 4 was released, which is faster than the Badger in reverse, has better front armor, the gun does more damage, and is better in every way. Aren't you glad you got yourself a gerbil? This thing is so pathetic. It's slower than the Object 268 version 4 going reverse. The gerbil going forwards is slower. People played the British TD line for months and months to get the advertised best tier 10 turretless TD in the game. And as soon as they got it, the Object 268 version 4 comes out. How many gerbils do you see on the battlefield these days? two things happen when you play the gerbil. Well, three things could happen. One thing is you could have a great team, in which case your gerbil will never ever shoot or even be close to any enemies because your team will win and you will still be crawling along trying to catch up. That's the first thing that could happen. The second thing that could happen is you could have a team of total incompetence, in which case they rush forward and all die, and then eventually your gerbil is surrounded by 11 enemies and killed. Or the third thing that could happen, the third possibility, which is the only positive outcome, the only fun you could ever have in a gerbil, a set of circumstances which, well, admittedly is not rare, but if the enemy team is made up of a troop of Muppets that has no clue, and your team is similarly made up of a cluster of clueless Muppets, and you're on a small map where they cannot run away from you too fast, like, of course, this Tier 2 map that has been reintroduced into the game for Tier 10 gameplay, then in that case, your gerbil, then you can actually have some fun with your gerbil. That's the only way that a real man can have fun with a gerbil. All right, let's watch here. Who is this guy? It's Albie. I'll be damned. He's playing a gerbil. Now, remember what I said. It's that set of circumstances. The enemies must be Muppets and your team must be Muppets. Now, his team has Muppetly died en masse, leaving him to face the enemy Muppets. Here they are. There's one of them facing the wrong way, and there's one of them crawling up onto the rock sideways, which he can ram up the ass and finish off quickly. Got him! He flanked them with his gerbil. He was spotted back there. Proxy spotted. But they didn't care. He's in a gerbil. He can't flank us. Well, he did. The T-124 was crawling up onto the side of the wall. The STR or whatever was pointed the wrong way because this is a Tier 2 map. And when I played Tier 2, I camped on this side and waited to shoot on the other side. Some games, none of my team crossed and I didn't see anyone and I exploded. Do you remember this map, Provence? It was a Tier 2 map. It's basically a clueless, mindless, pathetic map where you, unless one of your teammates crosses to spot the other side, you lose. And somehow, I missed it at the beginning, but this gerbil managed to get across. Oh, but now it's over. A Tier 8 Bat Chat has driven behind him and shot the dead tank, but there's no way he can defend himself from a Tier 8 Bat Chat that's so maneuverable. Unless the Bat Chat just sits in front of the end of the tank that has the gun, in which case, no problem. And here's another one. This guy was biding his time because he knows how powerful the gerbil can be. It destroyed. Oh, wait a minute. Here's a Tier 9 Bat Chat. Would be impossible for him to defend himself against a maneuverable Tier 9 Bat Chat. That fast tank that could easily flank around behind him, track him, shoot him up the ass, and kill him. But for some reason, this Bat Chat wants to sit in front of the end of the tank where the gun is sticking out. That's the dangerous end, my friend. The other end is the end that's safe. And now it's 1v1. And look at this. It's a Tier 8 tank destroyer. He's shooting down on this 40 millimeters of armor. A great shot, but you didn't do any damage because that's how this game works. So load some HE. You've got one HE shot left in your gerbil. But of course you can't hit because you have a very accurate gun. What could happen now? Well, I'll tell you what could happen. There's no way he can win this game because he's too slow. He's too slow. This STRV is 3 times as fast and maneuverable unless he sits in siege mode and allows himself to be hit. Enemy hit. And that's exactly what he did. And is he going to sit there and wait to die? No. Now he is woken up. He's going to use his skill. He's shot the building because he thought maybe I could hit the gerbil through the building, but that didn't work. So now he's going to use his superior maneuverability. And it's a draw. There's no way. There's no possible way that the gerbil could win here because he is just not fast enough. Despite all the advertised statistics, this tank could never dominate one-on-one. Can you imagine a 1v1 at the end versus an Object 268 version 4? The Object 268 version 4 could drive back to his base, come back, do 2 circles around the gerbil, shoot him up the ass, before the gerbil could turn around. But this STRV now is going to spend the next 5 minutes behind this house and just play cat and mouse. There's no way that the gerbil could flank him because the STRV is just, what is he, quadruple the speed, triple the speed? I don't know the exact numbers, but it's impossible, right? Look at this thing. I mean, the most frustrated, go around the corner. No, you're going to get stuck on the house. Look at this traverse speed. Turn low. He traverses like an E100, this thing. When it came out, it was to great fanfare. This tank is going to be overpowered and possibly destroy the game. That's what the videos were about when this thing came out. I don't know if this is a good idea to have this gerbil in the game. It could be too powerful. Surprise! Did you waste your time getting one of these? Well, like I said, if the enemy team is filled with clueless, useless, pathetic Muppets, like this STRV, who decides to just sit still and die, then you could lose your target and emerge from the game victorious! Victory! And get an ace tanker in your gerbil for doing 4,000 damage and almost 1,200 XP. 10 kills, though, which is pretty good. There were at least 10 Muppets in the game, which enabled him to win and get ace tanker in his gerbil, which you never see on the battlefield anymore because it was a trolling joke to release just hours before the Object 268 version 4. Which one would you rather have? The gerbil or the Object 268 version 4? The joke's on you. The biggest troll move perpetrated on any group of gamers in history in this game. The fanfare and the lead up to the mighty gerbil entering the game. The videos, the commentary by people from all over the world on how this thing would be so powerful. The biggest troll perpetrated in World of Tanks history if you spent the time to get yourself a gerbil. No fun for you!